Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber will continue to hear the testimony of the civil party Soisan, who will be questioned by the defense teams. And if time permits, we will hear the testimony of reserve civil parties, that is through TCCP 303. The graphic, could you report the attendance of parties and individuals to today's proceeding? Graphic, Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present, except Counsel Arthur Rakang, the defense counsel for Kirsampon, who is absent due to his health. And Pek Ong, the national lead co-lawyer for civil parties, is absent due to a personal commitment. As for Noon Chi, he is present in the holding cell downstairs as he waives his right to be present in the court. The waiver by the accused, Noon Chi, has been delivered to the greffier. The civil party Soisan is ready and present in the courtroom. Today we also have a reserve civil party, that is through TCCP 303. Thank you. President, thank you. And before I hand the floor to the defense team, we decide on the request by Noon Chi. The chamber receives a waiver from Noon Chi to be present in the courtroom, dated 6 February 2015, who states that he has had problem, namely headache, backache, and cannot concentrate for long. And for effective future participations in the trial, he waives his rights to be present directly in the courtroom. Today, that is 6 February 2015, and he also confirms that his counsel informs him of the waiver, which does not mean that he waives his rights to a fair trial or rights to oppose any evidence to be put before this court. The chamber also receives a medical report by duty doctor at the ECCC, dated 6 February 2015, who notes that the health situation of Noon Chi remains unchanged. He still has headache and dizziness, and he has pain when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall allow Noon Chi to follow the proceedings from the holding cell downstairs. As aforementioned and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Noon Chi's request to follow the proceedings remotely from a holding cell downstairs via audio-visual means. And as he waives his rights to be present in the courtroom, the chamber instructs the AV unit to link the proceedings to the holding cell downstairs so that the accused can follow the proceedings remotely, and that applies for today's proceedings. And the chamber would like now to hand the floor once again to Noon Chi's defense to continue putting questions to this civil party. And the chamber would also like to remind the parties that questions shall be in accordance through the instructions from the chamber yesterday in pursuant to the request by this civil party and the lead co-lawyers. You have the floor now, Defense Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, Counsel. Mr. Saisen, I will continue my questioning, which I started late last afternoon with you. Yesterday, I asked you some questions relating to 5 different people. I asked you questions about Grandma Nyor, also known as Hun Kim Seng, and her husband Mias Kun, and about their 2 children, Mia Sarat and her brother Mia Soka, and about their son-in-law, the husband of Mia Sarat, a man called Mom Bun. I asked you whether you know the reasons for their arrest. And your answer was that you didn't know. Maybe between my questions yesterday and now you have been able to think a little bit about it some more. Would you be able to tell us now if you know the reasons for their arrest?
President, the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours. Good morning to all parties. That question was already asked at least 3 or 4 times yesterday. The civil party was very clear. This is a repetitive question which aims to compel the civil party to speculate. The civil party said that he was unable to remember in response to a question put by the President. I think it's time to move on to another subject.
President, the objection raised by the Deputy Co-Prosecutor is sustained as the question is repetitive and the question intends to draw speculation from the civil party. And of course, if you really want to know the real reasons, you have to ask those people who did the arrest. And Councillor Kuppe, please move on. And civil party, you do not need to respond to the last question put to you.
Very well, Mr. President. Mr. Saisen, I was referring just now to Grandmother Nor Hun Kim Seng. Did you have some special relationship with her?
I didn't have any special relationship with her. It was just a normal, casual relationship.
What do you mean with that?
There was no special relationship. It was a normal relationship as I treated her as a mother and she treated me as a son.
Did that relationship continue after 1979? Her treating you like a son and you treating her like a mother?
Yes, and that relationship continues till today, and if we have any religious ceremony to celebrate, for example, we would invite one another to attend.
When was the last time you saw Grandmother Nor?
haven't gone to visit her at her house for about a year now, due to the fact that I'm busy doing my own living as well.
Do you know if she knows about the rape of her daughter?
I cannot say for certain whether she knew about it or not.
Have you ever spoken to her after 1979 about the rape of her daughter Mia Sarat?
From the time the regime fell until today, I have never spoken to her about that. It was lucky enough for us to survive, and we only talked about that, and I didn't want to talk about the misery that we went through during the regime.
So would I be correct if I would tell you that you wouldn't be able to tell why she, in her statement to the investigators, never said anything about the rape of her daughter? Would that be correct? You don't know that?
President, Civil Party, please wait, and the Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
I believe this question is twice as speculative, which would invite the civil party to speculate even further, and I believe that it is inappropriate.
Fine, I'll move on. Mr. Witness, do you know whether Mayor Soka, the brother of Mia Sarat, knows about the rape of his sister?
I don't know whether he knew about that or not, because we never talked about it.
Mr. Saisen, yesterday you said that Mia Sarat is still alive, living in the United States. Was she still in Cambodia in 2004, the year that you gave a statement to DC Camp?
I did not know whether she was here at that time, as Sukha and their parents have met each other frequently at Antasaum market. As for Sarat, I have not seen her for a long time, and I only knows about her situation through her brother and her mother.
Would you be able to tell us if, through whichever source, Mia Sarat considered herself to be a victim of rape, considered herself to be a civil party, wanting to file for compensations for being raped at Krang Tachan? Do you know anything about that?
President, Civil Party, please wait, and the international lead co-lawyer for Civil Parties, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, counsel for Nuon Chea is asking the civil party to speculate. We are not to rise systematically each time to make such an objection, and I would hope that the chamber will grant our objection and indicate as such to the Council.
Mr. President, I wouldn't dare ask the witness to speculate. I'm just asking if he has knowledge. If he doesn't, that's fine as well. Does he have any knowledge from other sources? Somebody who told him, maybe he has heard something as to whether or not Mayor Sarat intended to file any claim for compensation or wanted to be a civil party as to the rape that she allegedly experienced.
Civil party. No, I do not know anything about that. It was her mother who said that thing, but as for her, I did not know. And personally, I knew that they play around with her, fool her around, but I did not know for sure whether she was raped, sexually raped at the time.
Are you now saying you're not sure?
I was not sure about sexual rape, but the fact that they played around with her physically or sexually, then I saw that, but not the rape. President interrupts. I think there is a misunderstanding in answering a question at this moment. We want to get it clear from you. You stated that 2 women were sexually raped by the security guards, and also they used M79 bullet head to insert into their vagina. And that is a separate event from the events dealing or involving Ms. Sarat, or is it the same event? Through me, in the Khmer channel, the 2 women who were sexually raped were those from the mobile unit, and they were not Ms. Sarat, and that 2 women died. Is my understanding correct, Mr. Soysan? Mr. Soysan, yes, that is correct, Your Honor. The women from the mobile unit were sexually raped, and also they used M79 bullet heads to insert into their vagina, and after they were killed, I was ordered to drag their bodies into the pit and bury it. And as for Ms. Sarat, what I saw was only a physical playing around by those people with her, not a sexual act.
But, Mr. Civil Party, yesterday I read an excerpt from your statement from BC Camp to you. And there, literally, in that statement, you said that an unknown person, a guard, raped her. That is ERN 00527774, Khmer ERN 005277724. So again, my question is about Mayor Sarat. You testified, or you gave a statement to DC Camp saying that you saw her, or that she was raped. But now you're saying, well, my question is, what are you saying now?
President, Council, could you repeat the EN number again? And as well as the quote from that, you said about an unknown person involving in your extract. Please make it very precise. But you mentioned Mr. Rat and an unknown person. Whom you refer to when you refer to an unknown person?
Well, I'm not allowed to tell that name anymore. So I'm happy to call him Mr. X. But all of a sudden, I am not allowed to mention that name, although... Oh, okay.
President, if that is the case, it is permissible. But in the previous question, or you just read, I heard through the Khmer channel that she was raped by a security guard whose identity was unknown. But in this case, that a group of security guards raped her, and that is different. And of course, the instruction from the chamber yesterday is first not to reveal the identity of some individuals. And please, whenever you follow such a pattern of questions, maybe it's better to use the word X, something rather than unknown. Because when you say unknown in a Khmer translation, it means the person was not identified, and that leads to a misunderstanding. And I noticed the international legal lawyer for civil parties on her feet, and you may proceed.
Thank you, President. I have a concern. I don't necessarily have a response to this concern, but since yesterday afternoon, and more particularly this morning, we are talking about the identity of a person who allegedly was a victim of sexual violence. This morning we are told that the person likely never spoke. We don't know if the person lodged a proper complaint. We don't know if this person is even known. I'm rather concerned of this. I wonder if the Chamber understands what the potential repercussions are on the life of this person. This person is being referenced several times this morning. I don't know if an in-camera session is merited. However, how can we cite people who may have been victims during the period, and yet these people have never revealed themselves publicly? Is it useful to identify them by their names or not? I don't know. I'm putting that question to Your Honors, and I would respectfully request a clear indication.
Mr. President, I cannot even begin to comprehend this objection. I'm asking a question about...
My understanding is it wasn't an objection. Council was raising an issue of privacy when it comes to mentioning potential victims of sexual violence, if I understood that correctly.
Absolument.
Yes, absolutely, Judge Vance.
សូមជ័យលោកស្រី
President, Judge Friends, you have the floor.
Regarding the issue raised by the co-lead lawyers, the Chamber acknowledges that there is an issue with the privacy of victims of sexual violence in a public trial. As to the case at hand, the person has been identified, so nothing much can be done here. For future cases, the Chamber advises as follows. If a party wishes to publicly identify or have the witness to publicly identify a victim of sexual violence, he should pass the name on a piece of paper to the person who is on the stand for identification. If this leads to more questions, meaning if it goes beyond identification, the Chamber will envisage closed sessions which are possible for these cases under Cambodian procedural law.
Mr. Witness, did you observe the rape of Mia Sarat, or you didn't?
No, I did not.
My follow-up question would be, how do you know that she was raped?
អត់ស្អីមិនបាច់ឆ្លើយតបទេពីព្រោះលោកឆ្លើយថាអត់ដឹងរួចហើយអញ្ចឹងមិនមានសំណួរអី
Witness, you do not need to provide your answer because you have already given your answer.
Whatever, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I'll move on to the execution of Mias Kun and Mombun. I'm not quite clear on your answer about these events from yesterday. Did you or did you not observe, witness the execution of Mias Kun and Mombun?
Answer. For Takun, I observed that he was interrogated and tortured. A month later, Kun passed away. So Kun had passed away before Bươn.
Although I was forbidden to ask you that question because it was a repetitive question, it seems that you now remember the interrogation and possible even the torture of Mias Kun. Would you be able to tell us now what the interrogation was about and what the accusations were against Mias Kun?
Answer. He was taken to be interrogated, and I could not go there to listen to the interrogation. After interrogation and torture, I was asked to carry him back to the detention cells, and I did not know about the content of interrogation.
And you didn't ask him afterwards, maybe the next day or the day after?
Answer. He was imprisoned in the west side of the building, and I was at the east. So we were in different cells. So I could not have any, relation, or I did not discuss with him about the content of interrogation.
And has the memory come back as to the reasons of the arrest of Mom Boon? I know, judges, that you don't want to hear it, but I'm allowed to ask that question.
President, Mr. Civil Party, the question is repetitious. You do not need to give your answer because you might have been asked to speculate, so you do not need to respond to the question.
Mr. Witness, do you know two people called Sok Sot and Sok San?
Answer, I did not know them.
Mr. Witness, do you know the names of any of the prisoners in Krang Tachan?
Answer, prisoner at Krang Tachan, I know some of the names, and almost all of them passed away. Only children of Ye Nyo and I survived the period.
But could you give us even one name, any name of prisoners that you knew in Krang Tachan?
Answer, yes, I could. Tachen was one of the prisoners and he passed away.
I mean, other than the ones that you discussed already, others than Tachin or the ones that I mentioned this morning and yesterday. Can you give me any name of any prisoner in the period that you were detained?
Answer, as for others, they are deceased, and it is long time ago, and I forgot all those names. And Tanon was one prisoner in Krang Tachan.
Mr. Witness, in an answer to a question by a DC Chem investigator, you said that you know most of the prisoners. What does that mean? Do you know them by face or because you grew up with them? Do you know their names? What is exactly your knowledge when it comes to prisoners that were detained in Krang Tachan?
Answer. President, please hold on. Mr. Civil Party, International Co-Prosecutor, I notice you are on your feet. Co-Prosecutor. Mr. President, Counsel refers to the statement from DC Chem. I would like to request Counsel to refer exactly to which page and which ER number. President, the observation is correct, so please, Counsel, specify the identity of the documents during the period you put question to the civil party. Please specify ER number and also document number.
Fine. Mr. President, I refer to E3/4846, English ERN 00527775. It is actually the fifth page of the interview. The Investigator asks the witness, where did the prisoners come from? Answer, most came after the defeat of the Lon Nol army, and I know most of them. My question, Mr. Witness, would be, what do you mean you know most of them? Do you know them by name? Do you know them because you grew up with them? Could you explain what you meant?
Answer, I knew that they were imprisoned together with me. That's what I knew.
Mr. Witness, you said that there were thousands of people, hundreds of people, prisoners. You said that you know most of them. The only thing that I'm trying to do, except for Taichan and the close and the 5 people that I mentioned this morning, to give me one name of a Lon Nol officer that you know.
Answer, I knew the senior people from the former period who were killed. Ta Hit Pine, he was one of the senior military officials.
I didn't quite get that. What's his name? And when was he detained?
His name was Ta Sakrit Pine. He was one of the senior Lon Nol officers in Takao.
Would you be able to tell us his real name and his function, and even better, the reason of his arrest?
Answer, I could not tell what his position was. I was too young at that time. I know that he was brought into Krang Tachan Security Office, and he was considered a prisoner of war. He was killed later on.
Maybe my questions are confusing. I'm trying to find evidence that would corroborate your statement. I'm trying to find a name of a prisoner, the reason of his arrest, any knowledge of you as to that, so that I can possibly check whether this person was detained. Some details as to how you know him, what his name is, possibly what his function was in the Lon Nol army, anything.
Answer, I could not tell you because I was a prisoner as well. I did not have rights to go to ask that person. The period lasted for 3 years, 8 months and 20 days, so I had no rights to ask the detail from that person. If I was asked to carry this disgracement, if I was asked to do something, I had to do it. President, Counsel, please specify clearly your question. And from the answer of civil party, he said he did not know about that. So he said that he was also the prisoner in that security office. And civil party also stated that during the period of democratic Cambodia, specific pseudonym was used. For example, they used the name such as Grandmother Nyo or Ta 105. This civil party was not responsible for keeping the entry list of prisoners.
Thank you, Mr. President. But I've heard the witness testify that he had been counting prisoners who were executed, that he was unshackling prisoners before their execution, advising prisoners before their execution that they would go back to the cooperatives. He was playing music, he was digging the burial pits, unshackling, removing corpses, stripping clothes off corpses post-execution, carrying and burying corpses. In all respect, Mr. President, a handyman within the prison. So I don't think it would be too far-fetched for me to ask only one name of any of the alleged victims that he saw either being tortured or executed. I think that's a very fair question. And if he cannot, that is fine, then I'll move on.
President, you are not allowed to put such confusing and repetitious questions. I understand that you need to get the answers from the civil party, particularly concern the names of prisoner, and civil party already provided the name of a person called Ta Chen, and you insisted on other names. And I heard from civil party, he provided two names already. And what he said was clear enough. And we do not need to get all the names. There are no documents spacing all the names. And for his task, he was asked to do some minor things in the prison, and he did not need to get all the names and all details of prisoners to do his job. Lead co-lawyer, you now have the floor.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understand that the defense needs some latitude, but what I am concerned about are the insinuations of the defense, who is trying to say that the civil party is testifying to things that are not corroborated by the record. The civil party has identified a number of persons as prisoners at Krang Tachan. The approach used by the defense to present to us a scenario such as to challenge the evidence given by the civil party is improper. I find the questions out of place. And may I point out for the record that my learned friend has badly interpreted the DCCAM testimony E3/4846. Our learned friend Kope has insinuated that Sarsen had said that the person whose name we are not going to give was raped. It's not accurate. That is not what we find in that DCCAM record of interview E3/4846. Once again, this is a tactic by the defense to distort the evidence of the civil party. We have the record of interview, and we can read for ourselves what is written therein. It is a lot more difficult for people outside of this courtroom, and journalists included, to ascertain those facts. So I understand that the defense needs the latitude to ask questions, but he should not persistently insinuate that all the civil parties and the witnesses who appear before this chamber are liars.
President, thank you very much. You may now proceed, International Court Prosecutor.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to clarify something because Counsel Kope has mentioned a number of roles that the civil party played at Krang Tachan, and there is at least one he claims is false. The civil party never said that he was the person who told the prisoners that they were going to go back to the cooperative. He said it was always Pen. And I would like this error to be corrected so that we shouldn't be misled into believing that it was the prisoners who played that role.
President, thank you for the observations of lead co-lawyer and international co-prosecutors on the matter. There is one more thing I would like to clarify. There is clear Rule 93 of internal rules. Counsel, every parties can pose objection to the question, and if they consider that the answer provided from the witness and civil party are not truthful. So again, Rule 91.3. And I understand that parties need to hear the answers, and they have rights to pose their objection to the question by other parties. And the chamber has the discretion to decide on some question as well. So please, I understand that each party has the right and tactics in putting questions. And as for the assessing of evidence, it is the discretion and the duty of the chamber to decide. The chamber is here to expedite the hearing and the process. And I reminded you about this matter again, and I have always repeated what I have just said. And I could see that the same thing happens. You may now continue your questioning, Mr. Victor Kope.
I will phrase my question somehow broader, Mr. Witness. Again, would you be able to give, except for the names you already mentioned, Tachin and the family Miyasoka, can you give me any details of prisoners, not necessarily the names, but maybe the function, birthplace, reasons for their arrest, anything that you can help me with so that I can find corroborating evidence?
President, civil parties, you do not need to provide your answers to the question. You already stated that you did not know. Counsel, please do not insist on the answers from the civil party, and please avoid from asking any question which leads to speculation from civil parties. So if you run out of questions, please do not try to delay the time of the proceedings.
Fine, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, did you witness the execution of your father at Kraing Tachan?
Answer, I did not see, I did not witness.
Mr. Witness, to DC Chem you said that you saw it with your own eyes. Are you now withdrawing that statement?
Objection, mais est-ce
This is not an objection. Can we again see the reference to that document you're using?
President, thank you, lead co-lawyers. And Mr. Kope, I already reminded you that specific page and EON number should be mentioned by you, and you should cite correctly from which page and which EON number. in 3 languages. So we would like to have ERN numbers from 3 languages. You should do the same as international and national co-prosecutors. They always mention EON's number and identity of documents repeatedly so that everyone can follow. I believe that what we are doing here is to expedite our proceedings, so we should avoid such matters again and again. You may now proceed, civil party lawyer.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to point out that my learned friend Kope has asked a purely repetitive question. Since I had asked that question,
President, I already reminded everyone that if the questions are repetitive, you should have posed your objection.
Sorry if I asked before about the execution of his father, but I'm happy to read part of the witness statement to DC Chem. That is E3/4846, English ERN 00527785. The question is, after you saw him, that is his father.
President, please also mention ERN in Khmer and in French.
Khmer ERN 005-27744. It talks about his father being killed, and then...
Mr. President? President, do you have any matters to raise? You may now proceed. National Co-Prosecutor. National Co-Prosecutor. The ERN in Khmer or in English, I could not find in the documents. There is one digit missing. President, again, Mr. Kope, you are required to mention EON numbers twice and also in 3 languages.
ERN 005-27744. On the question of the investigator of DC Chem about your father being killed. After you saw him being killed, you wanted to see more? Yes, I climbed a tamarind tree that was on the west side of the prison to observe it. How did you see it? When they took my father to the east side of the prison, that was when I climbed the tamarind tree. I saw 3 people. My father, Rick Pan, and I don't know the name of the 3rd person. They blindfolded them near the kitchen and then brought them to the killing fields and butchered their head with a grub hoe axe. Did you see it? I witnessed it. In the evening, I went to where they killed my father and took his father's sarong and shirt to use as a blanket to cover him. I saw Ta'an took my father's hat. From that day on, he wore it all the time. Now, Mr. Witness, the question is, did you see or did you not see the execution of your father?
I did not see the execution. What I did was to go there to collect the sarong and the head. But the head was taken from me by the deputy chief of the prison.
Fine, Mr. Witness. I have some questions regarding another person that you mentioned yesterday, Kiyo Chandra. You said that you knew him and that he was detained in Krang Tachan prison. Would you be able to give some detail as to when you think he was detained?
Which person, which Kao Chandra? Could you elaborate a little bit further?
The question was asked to you yesterday whether you know a person called Kyu Chandra. You said yes, he was detained. And now my follow-up question is, do you know when he was detained?
I cannot recall the day or the month. As I stated earlier, I only focus on my own act.
I understand that you wouldn't be able to tell the exact dates, but was it, for instance, before the liberation in April 75? Was it after? Was it a year later? Any indication?
I cannot recall it. People were brought in and were taken out, and because I am also illiterate, so I didn't know much about the date or time. President interrupts, Mr. Civil Party, do you know a man by the name of Kao Chandra? Answer, no, I don't. President Defense Counsel, could you refer to the transcript yesterday so that you can use it as a base to put question to this civil party? If I am not mistaken, I did not hear about any question or answer in regards to Kao Chandra yesterday. Please refer to the yesterday transcript.
Mr. President, I'm sure Judge Lavergne will confirm that he was the one who asked that question.
President Judge Lavergne, you have the floor.
Perhaps it would be helpful to give the alias of Mr. Kyo Chandra. I believe that Kyo Chandra was also known as Sok Yau or Kru Yau based on these documents. But I understand why this can pose a problem. Perhaps the witness could identify Mr. Kyo Chandra.
President, the National Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor. Co-Prosecutor, for a transcript, for a proper transcript, in fact, the person is named Kao Chandra Dara, and his alias is Kru Yau.
Mr. Witness, again, do you know when this person, Kyo Chandra, who you identified yesterday with the alias, about when he was detained in Krang Tachan?
I didn't know Kao Chandra, but I knew Kru Yau. In the previous regime, he was not a crew or teacher, but only after the liberation. And in fact, he was detained prior to the liberation of Phnom Penh.
Maybe we're not talking about the same person. I'm referring to Kyu Chandra, who was a doctor and who was, according to him, detained for a short while at Krang Tachan. Now my question is, do you remember a doctor with the name Kyu Chandra or the aliases mentioned? You said yesterday that this person was detained. So my question is a follow-up question.
Juste pour aider
To assist the chamber, I was just going through my notes, and at 3:13 p.m., the alias that you referred to, Judge Laverne, was Keo Yeo, which is the alias name of Keo Chandara. You asked the civil party if Keo Yeo was the alias of Keo Chandara, and the witness replied yes. If I can just clarify, I read the record, and I had read Kru Yao. Once again, I'm not sure how the name was interpreted. I simply read aloud what was written in the French version of the PV. So perhaps that's where and how the problem emerged.
Mr. President, unless we're all having massive amnesia here, we're talking about the person at the end of the afternoon yesterday that was mentioned to you, Mr. Witness. Do you remember, you said that you saw this person detained. I believe you said 10 days, but I'm not sure about that. My question is, Q Chandra, or something like that, do you know the time of year in the year when he was detained?
I cannot recall the year, but I knew he was there. And as I said, I was illiterate and I could not read. I only remember that he was there.
I will ask a very simple question then to you, Mr. Witness. Do you remember whether he was detained before the liberation in 17 April 75 or after the liberation?
President Civil Party, please wait, and the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, President. I believe that everyone in this court, with the exception of defense counsel, heard the civil party say that he was placed in detention before the liberation of Phnom Penh. Perhaps the answer was not satisfactory for defense counsel, and now he feels compelled to ask the question again. Be that as it may, the question is repetitious.
I missed that completely, but if it was before 17 April 75, then I'm sure you will be able to tell how long before 17 April 75.
I cannot recall the exact period. I didn't pay much attention to that. I was also a prisoner at the time. President, Civil Party, if you say that you cannot recall it, please say it, I cannot recall it, and don't add anything else. Otherwise, it will just keep dragging on and dragging on outside the scope of the trial. And that you would be bombarded by other questions based on your unnecessary responses to the question. Please remember that in Khmer, we have a saying, only answer to what you are asked for, and don't make any prolonged comment, otherwise you just put yourself in a hot seat.
Mr. Witness, Q Chandra testified in this court, and he told a story about how he witnessed the mutilation and torture of women. Does that ring any bell to you? He was forced, I will add that, he was forced to watch that. Do you remember any such scene?
No, I didn't know anything about that.
Last question in relation to Mr. Q Chandra. Do you know a young woman who was in prison with him at the same time a woman of who he says she was the only survivor together with him, a woman of around 30 years old, a woman named Q Sam-at.
No, I don't know any woman by the name of Q Sam-at.
I'll move on to the next topic, Mr. Witness. Do you remember anything about a release of around 40 to 50 prisoners at the same time as the liberation of Phnom Penh, 17 April 75?
No, I did not see it.
Did you give a statement to the investigators of the investigating judges that 50 prisoners were released around that day?
No, I did not make such a statement about a release of 50 prisoners.
Mr. Witness, there is a witness involved in the administrative structure who testified that around that time there were indeed 40 to 50 prisoners being released, and that you were actually one of them. Could you react on that, please?
No, I did not see any such release.
So to be clear, you yourself never testified?
President Council Coupe, please mention the reference documents that you use in your questioning to the civil party as instructed by the chamber in order to make your question clearer so that everybody know that your question is based on a certain reference and not a presumption or something like that.
Well, you should... Anyway, no, never mind. I'm referring to E3/5214, the English ERN 00225505. That's the written record interview of this witness on page 6. I'm sorry, I don't have my ERN right now, but on page 6 it says, from what I noted, 50 or less than 50 of the prisoners held prior to 17 April 1975 were released. And the other statement that I'm referring to is, well, it's a person that I cannot call by name now, but he said about the same thing, and then he adds that this witness was one of the released prisoners. I'll give the ERN number for you. It's document E3/5522. English ERN 004262886. Khmer, I have this time, it's 004144888-89. Question, who appointed you as function of Krang Tachan office? Answer, 41. The district. But I want to clarify that I was not the chairman, I was the commune chairman, blah, blah, blah. That's all. I released 40 persons. And then he mentions a few names, Muk, Chong, Or, and Sai Sen. So my question is, did you give testimony to the investigators that there was a release of 40 to 50 prisoners? And can you react on the particular statement of this district chairman that you were one of the released prisoners?
No, I did not see such a big release. I saw a release of about 4 or 5 prisoners.
So is it now your testimony that what you said to the investigators is not correct?
What you said is incorrect because I never saw a release of 40 prisoners. I only saw a release of 4 or 5 prisoners.
Well, Mr. Witness, I just quoted your own statement. If you're saying now it's 4 or 5, that's fine. But my question is, could you react to this other statement, saying, coming from somebody in the hierarchy, using the same amount of prisoners being released, and that you were one of them? Is that a correct statement or an incorrect statement of this witness?
I didn't see a release of 30 or 40 prisoners. No, not at all.
Mr. Witness, I have to establish whether this other witness, who apparently had a function that he was authorized to release prisoners, I have to try to verify it, and he's saying that you were released probably around the day of liberation. Now my question, simple, is he incorrect, and are you right in your statement?
To this point, I cannot accept it because personally I was freed in 1979. President Council Coupe, please wait, and the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there seems to be some ambiguity in response 41, which was only partially read aloud by Counsel Koppe, can be understood by reading the following answer. The person says, I recall 3 or 4 names, Muk, Chong, Oa, and Soi Sen. Open bracket, they now live under the pagoda of Bangkorae, Kus Commune. I released Soi Sen when I returned from Pré Kuduk and saw him imprisoned at Krang Tachan. At the time, he was very young, and I asked An and P to release him to look after the water buffaloes. They agreed. I believe just that piece of information should be enlightening.
What, the release or the buffaloes? I mean, I see the word release, so I'm just asking, was he released, yes or no? And tending the buffaloes is something else than being detained. Or maybe not, but he can explain, I'm sure. A follow-up question, Mr. President, would be relating to...
President Councillor Coupe, please wait, and Judge Gavan, you have the floor.
Just to clarify what was indeed said to the investigators, at response number 42, it reads as follows. At the time, Soy Sen was about 12 or 13 years old. I met him in late 1974 when I returned from Pré Kuduk. He saw me and walked up to me and asked me to help him. I felt sorry for him and made a request that they have him tend the water buffaloes.
I have seen that answer, but tending the buffaloes and being released or tending the buffaloes and being a prisoner is not necessarily the same thing. So I'm just asking for clarification. My follow-up question, Mr. President, would be relating to this person, but I'm not allowed to ask that question. So I would like to note for the record that I would like to ask these questions, but then in camera, and then I will move on now to another topic. Is that fine? Okay. Mr. Witness, did you ever speak to authorities on the events that took place in Krang Tachan after 1997, excuse me?
For the year of the liberation, I can talk about those events.
My question is, did you give testimony like you are doing now, or you have done before to investigators of the OCIJ, but then to authorities here in Cambodia after 1979?
Of course, I have spoken through my neighbors, through former Krang Tachan survivors. And of course, I would probably have spoken to some of those people who were the local authorities.
Let me be more specific, Mr. Witness. Have you talked to representatives of the governor of Tram Kok district in or around 1995, 1996?
I think I have done that because I was asked by the local authorities of the events and my experience during the time.
Do you remember specifically the things that you told investigators of the authorities in 1996?
President Civil Party, please wait, and the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Oui, merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we have some difficulties with the French interpretation because in each question it is prefaced with, did you tell the authorities in 1976, etc. I don't think that was the original question. I think there's some confusion and I'm not following the questions. Perhaps matters could be reformulated and interpreted accordingly.
You would know the document that I'm referring to. I'm of course referring to a document called E3/2062, an investigation that apparently took place in March 1996 by what seems to be the Tramkrak District Hall Culture and Fine Arts Office. So if something went wrong with the translation, I mean 1996. Do you remember speaking to them, and do you remember what you told them?
I cannot recall the details because I have been interviewed by many sources, and I cannot recall anyone in details.
Do you remember that you spoke to them about the killing of your father, the event that we just briefly discussed?
As I said, I cannot recall it because I have been questioned by several individuals.
I would like to read a brief passage from this 1996 report. That would be, as I said, E3/2062, English ERN 00301369, Khmer 00679441-442. And I read and I quote as follows. At the site, which they later expanded through questioning a surviving prisoner, they sent out to work the palm trees named Sai Sen, son of the former sub-district chief Sai. He clearly saw his father being killed with many other people while he was climbing a palm tree to collect palm juice. Mr. Witness, does this revive your memory? Did you talk to the local authorities or to the national authorities in 1996 about the killing of your father?
I cannot recall it as it has been many years ago.
Did you maybe speak to the authorities about the arrest and detention and possible execution of 2 Cambodian movie stars, actors, film actors?
Yes, I recall that I spoke about the 2 film stars.
Do you remember what you told them?
I recall that I was interviewed maybe by a journalist about Kanova and Nop Nam, who were the former movie stars.
I'm sorry. Mr. Witness, do you remember the detention, the arrest, maybe even the interrogation of these 2 movie stars? These film actors. I prefer to use the word neutral, actually.
As for the 2 film stars, I saw them arriving in one afternoon, and later on they were taken out and executed.
Let's take it step by step, Mr. Witness. What do you remember? When was it? Which year was it around that they were brought in?
The 2 film actors were brought in, but I cannot recall the year. However, it was after the liberation of Phnom Penh. They were not detained. They were brought in, and then the husband was taken out and killed immediately. And then the wife was being played around by the people who were in charge there, and after that she was taken out and killed.
Again, Mr. Witness, let's take it step by step. Do you remember witnessing the interrogation of the female actor or the actress?
President Civil Party, please wait, and the Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Je n'ai pas d'objection.
I do not object to any questions being asked on these events, but yesterday and today, the Civil Party said he was never executed, and that issue didn't come up in the examination in chief. The defense counsel is misleading the witness and getting him to say that there was an interrogation because he never said that.
Fine. I'll ask an open question to the witness. Do you remember when this female actor, this actress, came in? She came in, what happened?
I didn't know about that.
Mr. Witness, I'm not from this country, as you can see, but I've been told that the person that you're referring to, that we're speaking about now, was a very famous actress in the beginning of the 70s. So maybe if you think some more, you will be able to remember what happened when she was brought in.
At that time, I didn't know much about what was happening.
But apparently you knew she was an actress. Can you explain then to me how you know that the woman that we are speaking about was an actress?
I knew it because the office of the chief there asked me whether I knew the two people, and I said I did not know, and they told me that they were Nopnam and Kanova.
Okay, so we are clear on the people that we're speaking. My question is, did you actually see the actress enter Krang Tachan, and if yes, was she detained? Was she then maybe subsequently interrogated? What happened with this actress? I would like to have some details.
As I stated, they were not imprisoned. First, they took the husband out and killed, and the wife was taken to the aunt's office, and after a while, she was taken out and also killed.
But step by step, Mr. Witness, they came in, or she came in. Was she put in detention? Was she shackled? Do you know? If yes, how long did she stay in detention before she was interrogated, if at all?
President and the international political lawyer for civil parties, you have the floor.
Oui, merci.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I am following up the objection by the prosecutor. He said that the civil party never said that the actor was ever interrogated, and we would agree that these questions are unfounded because the civil party never said she was interrogated, and the defense counsel is continuing to ask these questions for the third time. The civil party said on 3 occasions that there was no interrogation.
President Kansakupe, the observation by the political lawyer for civil party is partly correct. And Kansakupe, you should rearrange your question. I think part of your question has been answered by the civil party, and you should only put question to him regarding the other part. And don't try to put a question in a way that it is to intimidate him. And of course, you know that there are 2 parts to your question, and one part is not yet answered by your civil party. For example, whether she was handcuffed upon her arrival, but on the issue of detention and torture, the civil party clearly responded to that.
Well, Mr. President, what is interesting about this actress is she's not only being described as being detained at Krang Tachan, she apparently was a very famous actress, but on top of that, it seems that in the documents that you have, the Krang Tachan documents, she is referenced, she is described as being detained, interrogated, etc. So there is actual possible confirmation from the Krang Tachan document. So I would be happy to guide you to the relevant document, D157.7, ERN English 008666461. So I'm trying to help this witness a little bit by talking not about an unknown Lonol official, but about a famous actress. So maybe that would trigger his memory, and that's what I'm trying to do.
President, you should understand, Council, that not everyone is familiar or is interested in all well-known film actors. As in my case, I'm not interested in any film actors or know any of the famous film actors. And that is the reality. So you cannot consider everyone as you. If you're interested in film actors, not everyone is interested in film actors. And of course, when you put the question to the civil party already, then you are not allowed to repeat your question. And as I have heard, it is clear that the civil party responded to part of your question. That's why I advise you to rearrange your question, probably to make it into a part. For the part that is not yet responded, you should put that to the civil party. And of course, you cannot put the question where he already replied.
Mr. President, I fully appreciate that you are not interested in movies. I am myself am interested, but it seems that the witness remembers very well and talks about it as well, that a witness, an actress, a famous actress, entered Krang Tachan. He spoke to the local authorities, he spoke in a statement about this. I think he testified to it yesterday or the day before yesterday. So my question really is, if he's not interested in film at all, is not really relevant, I would imagine. My question to is, what does he remember from this actress being brought in Krang Tachan?
President and Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Merci.
Thank you. I must object again, Mr. President, because we have cross-checked the contents of this document, ERN 008666561, and the D number D157.7, and in English. An actress arrived at Krang Tachan. Her name was Nuk Nina. That actress was born in Kampot. There is no mention of an actress called Kim Nova to our knowledge. Again, it would appear that the defense is trying to mislead this chamber. and that must be corrected.
ដោយម្ដងរដ្ឋបတ်វិនិច្ឆ័យ
President, civil party, you do not need to respond to the last question by Defense Counsel for Noon Cheer. The time is appropriate for a short break. We take a break now and return at 11. And court officer, please assist the civil party and the TPO support staff during the break and have them return to the courtroom at 11 a.m. The court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ